Hey, I'm Beau Windon. I'm a Wiradjuri man, based in Naarm at the moment, Melbourne. Before beginning, I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the people of the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung nations, who are the traditional owners and custodians of the land from where I am zooming in or recording in here. This is was and always will be Aboriginal land.
Kia ora bau. Kia ora tātou. Ia ko Waiariki Parata-Taiapa tōku ikua. Um, no puketeraki ahau, kaitahu kāsi māmu waitaha, Ngāti hine, Ngāti parau oku iwi. Kia ora tātou. Kia ora bau, and thank you for opening up and introductions and in this session. My name is Waiariki, from Aotearoa, New Zealand. My father is from the northern tribes of Aotearoa here, and my mother is from the southern tribes. I reside here in Dunedin. I have three tamariki, Kawiti, Te Rauhui and Rākaiao, ages 6, 8, and 9. And yeah, I guess I try and write from the eyes of my tamariki. It is a means of telling their story
Yeah.
and connection to the land and its people. So yeah, it's nice to engage in this conversation. Kia ora.
Lovely, lovely, and it's so nice to meet you as well. I got to start by because the picture like directly behind you is so prominent. Can I just ask about that to begin with?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I didn't really, and I didn't necessarily sit here intentionally to have that as my backdrop. We're doing some renovations, and I'd rather this than the rest of the house. However, yes, this is it's a creative piece. It's a heitiki, and it's more traditional design element. However, it's a bit more contemporary with some of the elements inside it. However, a heitiki is believed in various tribal narratives that it was the first human being tiki, and I guess many of our people wear jewelry around their necks as a symbol of birth or tamariki. So yeah, it's a real special, significant for the culture, our Maori people. So yeah, it is a nice piece. Kia ora.
Yeah, yeah, just like it. And from the moment we came in, I've seen it there, and it's just grabbed me. I'm like, oh, it's just so striking.
Kia ora. Yeah, Portere Designs, and
Yeah.
I believe they are based up in Christchurch, which is about
Oh,
400
nice, nice.
miles.
And yeah, like your poem, which when I first had it sent through to me, a couple of weeks ago, and I read it, it um is such a powerful piece. It's full of like respect, but also like this nice kind of I suppose critique, and there's this element of like wordplay in there as well that um it was the type of thing where when I read it, I felt like I got a good I got a good sense of who you are as a person, because of the layers that are in the poem. Um, uh, could you just I suppose like talk me through what was going through your head when you wrote it?
Yeah, thank you, Ehoa. I think yeah, I guess when I'm writing something, I need to know what I'm writing to and for. So understanding the context of which I was writing for, and I guess for two, I guess for this particular kaupapa or project, there are two things that stood out for myself that I wanted to speak to. One was acknowledgement of the peoples on which this exhibition was being held. So, I looked more into the Blak Bright exhibition and organization, and understanding more about what that, I guess, the essence of what they stand for and what they want to elevate, and that of First Nation voices and Indigenous voices. And then, so that was one aspect of it. And then the other aspect of it was our own context here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. There's a lot happening in the political landscape, always has been, 185 years since
Yeah.
signing up to Te Reti Waitangi. And I guess, if we're going to elevate Indigenous First Nation voices, you need to look at your own, doorstep and, understand what's happening in your doorstep before going into other spaces. So yeah, those were probably the two things that I had on the back of my mind, and which led me to providing this, this poem. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Thank you. Yeah. So thank you, Beau. And I guess, and had a chance to read yours, and I was just thinking about the comparisons. Like, there were these themes of, always was, always will be, and even in the introduction of yourself, paying acknowledgements to those Aboriginal tribes and mobs and peoples. What were some of the ideas or processes that led you to writing your piece?
Yeah, I think for me, when it comes to everything, I'm always so I guess aware of all of the context that exists around me. I'm a guest here on Wiradjuri country. It's not my country. I very rarely in my life have actually been on my own country, because of the effects of colonization and decisions made by settlers that came here hundreds of years ago. And I think I'm always very very aware of my context in wherever I go. Whenever I visit anywhere else in so-called Australia, the first thing I'll do is look up who the original people were, whose country I'm on. For me, it's just it's just a respect thing. And it makes me feel more at ease in myself. It makes me feel more present, to know where I am, and to know the original people, and to have that kind of context around me. So when I was creating this piece, and the theme was so interesting to me as well. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, and it comes with like so much complexity, because we are I guess, like, consumed and constantly overwhelmed by the effects of colonization, and these systems that aren't natural. They're not natural for us. It's difficult to exist in them. But then it has been going on for hundreds of years now. So it's something where it's like we need to constantly reconcile with this. And I suppose, like, similar to your work and what you said, there's a lot going on there. And recently, last year, or there was the whole voice referendum here, which was
Mm.
voted down, which was incredibly disheartening. There were a lot of complexities there as well. A lot of blackfellas that were untrusting of that. And that's their right. It's everyone's right. But on a grander sense, it was incredibly disappointing, and what's come out of it since then has been incredibly disappointing, because it feels like now we've been shuffled to the side, and it's like, okay, well, this referendum failed, so I suppose you're not important to the white fellas of this country.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, and all of a sudden, it's like we're not being talked about as much because of that referendum coming down. So when I was writing this and thinking about it, I had a lot of frustration in that sense of thinking about, okay, well, uh, in the context of yesterday, today, tomorrow. Well, yesterday, my entire family, my entire mob were displaced, and everything thrown into a sense of chaos. Today, I feel disheartened, and the only ways I can really I suppose digest that is through trying to make myself feel present, and to really try and connect with the land, and connect with things that are happening now and around me. And then tomorrow, you know all I can do is have hope, I suppose.
I,
It's difficult because when you have something that could have been like such a large moment of change fall down, it can be really easy to feel hopeless.
mm.
Um, and when I was working on the piece, I wanted to end it in a way where I was kind of envisioning a sense of hope for the future, a sense of um I guess a sense of like what could things look like? Could things be better? Because they're not good at the moment. And I don't think that's I think it's a worldwide thing, and I think indigenous people of each country worldwide. It's something that can hit a lot harder, because it is a constant reminder of the fact that we've been overrun and had these odd colonial systems enforced on us. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was like I was having a lot of really complex thoughts when working on this.
It's an interesting topic,
That though,
though. It was an
I
interesting
like,
topic. I enjoyed working on the topic, like, today, tomorrow, and yesterday.
yeah,
And I remember when I first, I remember receiving the email, and then David saying, you can either use all three in however order you want, or you can use a word just in isolation. And I was like, nah, they're all connected. However, I remember just saying to myself, I was like, man, today just feels like yesterday. And I was
yeah,
like, okay, that's cool. Two and one, and then I'll just focus on tomorrow, which is
yeah,
like you talking about. That's where hope lives in. We hope for a better tomorrow, a better future, and I guess that's always the challenge. Like, how do you bring it back? How do you instill or feed hope into when there's nothing shifting? If we're talking
yeah.
about political in the political sphere, when decisions aren't benefiting, or all people, then today seems very much like yesterday. However, we still need to continue to be hopeful that we do have a voice of tomorrow that can most definitely empower a better generation. And I think that's always the biggest thing. Like our people here in New Zealand, our Maori, and also tangata tiriti, those who are really pro Indigenous rights. That this fight and the fight, I guess, has been going for a good 185 years to correct the wrongs. And I guess I did want to take this kind of poem and a platform just to speak to some of that stuff because it's important. And the thing about, I love the poetry creative space because it gives creative license to really think outside the box of trying to instill messages and lessons of those of the past, and really try and feed in the voice of those younger people. And Aldi, I guess, reflecting some of the wise words of our great leaders such as Apira Mangata. They say, grow tender in the days of your time. So remembering the past, but also making sure that your feet are grounded in your present day, so you actually know what you're speaking to. So I think in reflection with this poem, these were some of the thoughts that I was really enjoying in terms of the experience and the journey of actually unlocking some of those past kind of lessons and trying to bring it in, bring that in into this. So yeah, it was a lovely moment. I
Yeah.
was just looking at the last sentence of your poem of, we ensure that the grounds are alive with the vibrancy of story. I love that, eh? I love that.
Yeah. Because I think stories and it's one of those really proud traditions that a lot of First Nations communities have is this way of storytelling and using storytelling as a way to comfort one another and to inspire the youth and the younger members of our mob, our community, our tribes and such. I remember being a kid and sitting around and listening to my pop and to other elders and stuff talking and sharing stories and being so engaged with it, and that it's one of those things that's always stuck with me, that there's a lot of power in storytelling. It's something that it can bring us together, it can motivate, it can comfort. There's so much that comes from it. And whenever I'm working on anything, I always and writing anything, I always think I want to produce something that I suppose younger people that might be struggling with things can read it and have a sense of comfort, or at least a sense that, okay, I'm not so alone here, not so alone in these thoughts. I think that there's a real power in storytelling and in poetry through that, and when things can feel so frustrating and hopeless, to have a creative outlet that we can really I suppose express ourselves and reach out and connect
Yep.
to one another. I think that's I think that's such a great powerful tool there.
Yes.
Um, can I ask you actually with your piece, because it is like it has this nice kind of sense of play towards the side. Like I loved and I loved the wordplay with unlike Seymour, who sees less,
Mm.
which is like just as like I suppose really tasty little playful way of bringing us into the poem, kind of like it guides us in, and it's like I'm going to. It almost feels like you're saying you're going to be discussing
Mm.
some deeper things, but there is a lightness in
Mm.
it as well. And I was just curious about that lightness, and about when you're writing, what I suppose how you feel about that balance of being critical and critiquing, and also being personable, and creating something that can speak to the youth. Like you said,
Mm.
you've got your kids that um uh, they're the leaders of tomorrow,
Mm.
the future. And so I'm just curious about when you're doing this, how you can strike this balance, how you approach that.
I really enjoyed the interjections and the in your manner of acknowledging those first peoples of those homelands there. I similar to this writing, I knew that, if I was to really speak as a Maori and I was going to be entering onto, even having a voice even in that of a written piece, that, I wanted to acknowledge um, the place in which this might be viewed or shared or seen. Um, and when I in the first line I say welcome to country. At the time I wrote this, which was a couple of months ago or whatnot, I remember seeing something in social media that some of the politicians over in Australia turned their backs in one of the sittings, I think, and it wasn't compulsory for them to be there. A part of the I can't remember what it was called. It's got a different name to Welcome to the Country kind of ceremony of the Parliament, but they didn't have to be there. However, they made a statement really by turning their backs, and I guess I was like, welcome to country, and then I guess from my acknowledgement in this piece to those people was, I see you. It's those three words that acknowledge those people. It's like, and I bring it back to Seymour, and I guess that's just placing me in this context of New Zealand, where that's not necessarily the case for David Seymour or many of those politicians in the New Zealand government at the moment, that they're not they're actually attacking Māori rights in here in New Zealand. And when I say unlike Seymour, David Seymour, who sees less, he's not actually. It's not about us, So there's heaps of references like that, and I think just come back to your quoted or your question. Like I think we have a saying here in Te Reo Māori or in the Māori language, iti te kupu nui te kororo. Iti te kupu means like, there's a lot of meaning in only a few words. And I guess that's what I'm always thinking about when I'm writing, rather than writing a whole blurb on something. How can I be more effective in terms of using the language that I use?
Yeah.
And I guess, similar to that, when I said, I see you, it's for me, and that's quite a big thing for myself because it's a means of acknowledgement to those people. And then throughout the whole poem is quite it just talks about other things. However, it's funny you're from Melbourne. My sister's lived in Melbourne for the past 25 or 30 years maybe, and I think she lives in
I
Naarm. And when I wrote this, I think maybe in my third day of writing this,
mm,
she came over and I said, "Hey, I've started writing this. I need to finish it off though.
mm,
Is there anything you can offer me?" So my sister's name's Maria Rangiafa. And she said, is there anything that I can just tie it off? Something maybe around Aboriginal people or so. And then she's like, oh, yeah. Well, I was talking to her about the Welcome to Country, what happened. And then she's like, oh, she said, oh, they always say they'll always say always was, always will be.
mm-hmm.
And I said, that's perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect because this is, it was in context, and it also bring it back around that, we open it up, welcome to country. Then I kind of link it in what's my local, kind of localizing it to where I am, and then just bringing it back. And, always was, always will be, which is actually a connection, which actually gives more light that we are stronger, united, and there's not necessarily, we are connected by the waters, the ocean, and we are also connected by culture as well. Those things, those values that are really important to us. So I really liked her contribution. I want to acknowledge my sister for that contribution. Always was, always will be. And then I guess the last line, I guess, in my poem was ake, 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 which translates in Te Reo Māori as forever and ever and ever. So I guess it's just to give a little bit more, I guess, that relationship, I guess, with languages and culture and identity. Yes.
Yeah. It's really interesting that's because I didn't know what that meant, but in my head I was like, oh, it feels like it's something to do with eternity. Was kind of like my thinking. So,
and there's heaps of I'll just put little I guess some Te Reo Māori words in there, which is cool. I had a lovely time playing with words. Like there's one, welcome to country, land of the wrong right crown.
yeah.
But yeah, it's usually land of the long white cloud.
Yeah.
Land of the long white cloud. I was like, nah, this is the land of the wrong right crown at the moment. Man, they're taking us downhill.
Anyway. It's so great. Like your wordplay in it is, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot. For our Indigenous people here in New Zealand, our Maori people, we're fighting our own fight, our own struggle with the turning tides of, what's happening globally, but even at our front doorstep, and we will continue to fight. Always, need that voice of tomorrow for our younger generations to come. So yeah. And if I was to just close up with a question to you there, Beau, what would you say in a snapshot in terms of your contribution, your poem, your kōrero, what would be the main point, or what would be the main, I guess, aspect of your poem that you would like everyone to know about your written piece?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I'd want people to take from it is just this idea. And I think I can't remember what year it was. It was a recent year. The theme for NAIDOC week here was keep the fire burning, keep the fire burning, and I think that's what I'd want people to take from it. Especially mob, and any other First Peoples, is that we do just need to keep that fire burning and just keep persisting. I think it's something that we have in common, is that we're persistent, we're resilient, and as long as we don't abandon, our ways, and we don't give in to, you talked about David Seymour, the politicians there, and like our politicians here, they don't see us in a lot of ways, and so as long as we see each other, and we keep that fight going, keep that fire burning, I think there is always hope for the future. I do like to think that most people, when it comes to people of a more European colonial background, I like to think that most of them are empathetic, and it's just it's in this day and age it can be so difficult to get things across, and it's through our writing that we can help get that across and help give outsiders a little glimpse into our ways, into our struggles, our beliefs, our hopes. Um, so I think, like, this entire program that we've been doing, and all of these other First Nations, Indigenous writers that are part of this as well, all of our pieces being out there and shared, it's the type of thing that inspires me and gives me hope for the future. When I read your poem, it inspired me and it gave me hope, and it's something that I hope mine would do for others. And I anticipate, when I get to read the other writers that are part of this, when I get to read their pieces, that there'll be things that light a fire in me as well. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, keep the fires burning. You've got to keep the fires burning, keep stoking it, eh?
yeah,
The
that's
fire,
it.
keep feeding it. Nah, I love that. Thank you, Beau. Really appreciate that, eh? Keep the fires burning of story. One of our great leaders who is still alive with us, Tā Tipene O'Regan, Sir Tipene O'Regan here, big chief of our Ngaitahu tribe here in the South Island. He's always big, eh? Like, he always reminds us, he's like, we need to remember. He knows that history is, I guess, one of the backbones of our culture. And, we need to remember, so we know ourselves, and um, we know the feeling of what it means to stand on our lands. Yeah, so yeah, no, it's nice. No, thank you for those reminders too of those important things. So yeah, thank you, Beau. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. It was such an invigorating chat.
Thank you. I agree. And yeah, hopefully, if I'm in Melbourne visiting my sister, might flick you an email or whatnot and say,
Hey, oh, I'd love to catch up for a yarn, have a cuppa.
yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
cool, mate. Hey, yeah, we'll see where this takes us, and who knows, we might be able to do more things together as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, mate.